quite a bit.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
That's no move.
We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
Welcome to the Star Wars Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vedebonker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
We've been getting ready, Kenton, for our family vacation, which we're leaving on tomorrow.
Oh, I knew you were going first week, but everybody has a different definition of first week of August because a Canadian, the long weekend that are in every province, basically, that everyone looks forward to is this coming weekend.
Yes.
And I noticed a lot of people confused about that.
Well, it's technically the first weekend in August, right? So that is this coming weekend. Today is the first. And we've decided to go on a road trip to Edmonton for our vacation.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of reasons. Number one, we're getting kind of tired of the Mall of America. We've been there a few times. Kids have already done all that stuff. They've never been to the West Edmonton Mall, which is like the Canadian equivalent of the Mall of America.
Maybe even better.
Probably better.
For kids, for activities.
Well, to be honest, I have not been there. I was thinking about this today. I used to live in Edmonton, and I have not been there in, it's going to be 19 years.
Wow.
So it was 20 years when I moved out there. 20 years ago, I moved out there to live there with my friend for a couple of years. And here's how I tie it all back to Star Wars. I was thinking about this too. I'm like, how can I make this a Star Wars related story? There's a Star Wars milestone for me in Edmonton. That's where I was when I saw The Phantom Menace for the first time. So in 1999, when that film came out, first of all, the tickets went on sale a month or two beforehand, I think. I can't remember exactly when, but it was weeks before the film actually came out. And I booked the day off work. This is when I was working at Blockbuster Video. Booked the day off, headed down to the Eaton Center. I don't know what they call it now because Eaton's is gone. So I wonder if
across Canada they renamed. They all have different names.
But the Toronto one is still called Eaton Center, isn't it? The Toronto version. I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I think they renamed it. But
so
I can't
here in
remember.
Winnipeg, Eaton Place became City Place. I'm sure they've renamed it in Edmonton, but at the time it was Eaton Center. And the reason I went to that mall is because unlike the West Edmonton Mall, which had allowed people in there 24 hours a day, people were lined up days in advance to get tickets for the Phantom Menace at the West Edmonton Mall, and the lineup stretched the entire length of the West Edmonton Mall, which is really long. It's not like the Mall of America, in which the Mall of America is built kind of as a square, and it's got 4 levels of squares. The West Edmonton Mall is a big, long mall that has basically just 2 levels, but it's super long. So anyway, the lineup stretched the entire length of the mall, and I didn't have days to wait in line. I couldn't sit there forever. I had to work. So I booked one day off work, and I noticed they weren't letting people into Eaton Center until 6 a.m. the day of to go line up. So I went there. I booked the day off. I went there at 6 a.m. and lined up. I was still 10th in line, even though I got there right at 6 o'clock in the morning. I sat there for about 7 hours or so waiting for tickets to go on sale. And so that was kind of the first experience I had. First of all, it was the first time I'd met other people who loved Star Wars as much as I did, and kind of connected with these people in line. We had a lot of fun. I mean, I was the only person within my group of friends who was willing to do this. Nobody else would come and wait in line with me, none of my other friends, even though I was buying their tickets for them. It was quite a cool experience being able to kind of sit there and hang out with other people similar nerdiness to mine in Star Wars. And so that's 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago. So that's what happened.
You got to promise me when you're driving there, right? So
yes.
When you get there, get out of the car and go, "So good being home." Give it a Jar Jar.
No. And of course, and I've told this story as well on the podcast before, but that's where when we did go to see the Phantom Menace at that theater, we had to line up for our seats to get good seats. And I walked out of that theater going, "That was an awesome movie." And my friend Rod turned to me and said, "No, it wasn't. What the hell's wrong with you?" And I was just kind of overwhelmed by being able to see Star Wars in the theater again. And I gotta say, and we've talked about this a lot on this podcast, as far as we're never going to get that again. We're never going to get that feeling of oh my God, it's been forever since we've been able to see a Star Wars movie. It's just going to be
possible.
I mean, we don't know what's going to happen after Episode 9. And we are still quite a ways away from Episode 9. We still have a year and a half to go. So this will be the longest stretch in the modern era of Star Wars between movies, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But today, obviously, the big news coming out of Star Wars or StarWars.com is the announcement of the cast. And is this because they started shooting this week? Is that what happened?
They did. And I'm getting the news release right now, but the news release, they dropped a bunch of bombs on us. There's lots of interesting stuff that's there, and there's lots of interesting stuff that's not there.
I'm wondering, because I'm trying to think about the strategy behind releasing this information now, because there were rumors, and I don't want to say specifically, we'll get into it a little bit later, but there were rumors swirling a few weeks ago as far as who was going to be cast in this film, and it was not like the traditional people we already know. It was the new actors coming in, and they did announce at least one new actor in it, but not the ones we were looking for. So I'm just wondering if they were like releasing this information to kind of get ahead of the rumors or stuff, because they've kind of given away some spoilers in this announcement, I think.
I think that the real spoilers are not in this news release, because
Okay.
I think because it doesn't answer. Okay, well, let's read it,
Go ahead,
and
go
then
ahead.
we'll say what it doesn't answer. So it says cast Star Wars Episode 9 cast announced. Returning and new cast members will join together for the final installment of the Skywalker saga. So that's interesting. It's the last installment. It says it's the final one. No more Skywalkers after this, unless Rey turns out to be...
No, but I think that's the beauty of it, is I don't think Rey's a Skywalker, and Rey could continue on. What that means is that Kylo Ren is going to not be in any other movies going forward, because he's the last. He is the last Skywalker.
I still think they could be twins. But anyway.
Oh man, you're gonna take that to your grave. That one, I
Well,
don't
if
think
it
so.
turns out that I'm right, then guess who'll be laughing? Then it'll be me laughing at all of you. So here we go. So it says it'll begin shooting today, August 1st. J.J. Abrams returns to direct the final installment, once again, of the Skywalker saga. Abrams co-wrote the screenplay with Chris Terrio. Returning cast members include Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Lupita Nyong'o, Domhnall Gleeson, Kelly Marie Tran, Jonas Suotamo,
Yeah, plays
Chewie,
Chewbacca.
and Billy Lord. And the cast and joining the cast are Naomi Ackie, Richard E. Grant, and Kerry Russell.
Oh, it said Kerry Russell.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't think it said that.
No, it's in there.
Okay.
And they will be joined by Mark Hamill, Anthony Daniels, Billy D. Williams, who will reprise his role as Lando Calrissian, which is nice to have confirmed. This is the big news. The role of Leia Organa will once again be played by Carrie Fisher, using previously unreleased footage shot for Star Wars The Force Awakens. Then there's a quote in there about we were never going to recast or use a CG character.
Well,
And
they were never going to after Rogue One came out.
Right. They did. Not only
They did it in Rogue
we were
One.
never going to, but we did. And then John Williams will be joining, which is let's see, he scored every chapter. It doesn't say it'll be his last one.
I think that's pretty well known that
Yeah.
it is going to be his final
It does
film.
not say so, though.
Okay.
Produced by Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, and Michelle Rejwan. I don't know how you pronounce her name. Blah, 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 cast and crew, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the release is December 2019. So there's lots in there.
I must have missed the Kerry Russell thing, because that was the big rumor going around, is that Kerry Russell was being cast. And of course, because she's got brown hair, everyone's saying, oh, she's Rey's mom. That's the big speculation out there.
Mara Jade.
Or Mary, I don't know about that.
She
I don't
looks
think
like
so.
her.
Kind of, but I think that's stretching it. I think that, who knows what her role is. But I thought it was interesting. I was going to have a clever thing saying, oh, it's interesting they didn't include Kerry Russell, but they did. So never mind. Out of that, and there is one omission there. We're not seeing Benicio del Toro, so DJ is not coming back, which is kind of a question mark, because why would they even have him in that movie?
Well, who's not there is him, Benicio del Toro, Snoke.
Well, Andy Serkis, of course.
Andy Serkis,
yeah, of
not
course.
there.
Well, he
Well,
died.
Everybody says he's coming back.
Why would he come back?
Because
the
people
stupidest thing I've
want
ever
him.
heard.
They want him back.
I don't know why people love Snoke so much. He was kind of a cookie cutter villain. He did not add anything.
They want to know more.
Oh my goodness!
That's
Come
what
on.
they want. They want to know
Read
more.
the Aftermath books.
And
Those
also,
will give you
also
more.
not there is Gwendolyn Christie. So Phasma is.
That's too bad. That's a shame.
But I do think Phasma looked like she died there, and to bring her back almost seems like it stretches the bounds, I would say.
It's a shame, because I really wanted to see more from her in that role, but maybe it was never meant to be more than than what it is.
Yeah.
People are comparing her to being the Boba Fett of this trilogy, in that we don't see her a lot on screen, but we love her and love the idea of her character so much that she's going to live on as Phasma in lots of different things.
This week, I neglected my chance to buy the battle-damaged Captain Phasma Star Wars Black figure.
Oh, with the
I
eyes?
saw it.
Is it-
Yeah,
Oh,
they
okay.
have it at Toys R Us on Pembina for people who are interested. But it's like $50, or no, it's 40 some bucks because it's an exclusive figure, and it's the same one as the other one, except you could see her eye, and you're like,
You can just make your own.
$50.
Just poke a hole in the one you have and then
Exactly.
paint an eye there, and you're good to go.
So it was my first sort of like first queasiness about so I didn't drop money on it. I was like, what am I doing? So I didn't do it. But by the way,
It's the beginning of the end for your collection. I think. Is that what that is?
while we're talking about the Mara Jade, the people who want Kerry Russell to be Mara Jade, look at Richard E. Grant.
Yeah.
The actor
Oh,
who's also
he's great.
Yes, and he's got to be a villain.
He has to be.
And would you like to know where the online speculation? I saw 3 articles today about who they think this guy is. Ready?
I have no idea.
Thrawn.
What?
I know.
Oh,
I don't
God,
think so.
come on.
Okay, so let's just start with this. What do you think the odds are that Mara Jade and Thrawn are in the
0.
episode? Yeah, I don't think
0%,
I don't
no.
think it's very likely.
No. And that's not to say they won't bring Mara Jade into some other iteration of Star Wars, but I don't think it's for this episode. I don't think we need to introduce major new characters like that. I think they want to wrap things up. They don't want to start new things. So, and Thrawn, I'm sure, as we talked about last week, I'm sure Thrawn will be making an appearance in the new season of Clone Wars. I'm sure Mara Jade will be in somewhere, but that's like Mara Jade, if they did bring that character in, it would be more of a closer to Return of the Jedi type of a time period. It would not be 30 years later, because Mara Jade, and it's also something that they could do with Luke, because Mara Jade was the romantic love interest of Luke Skywalker. So what are the speculations? They're saying that's Rey's mom. Is that Luke and Mara Jade had a kid, and that's who Rey's parents are?
No, I didn't see that.
Okay.
But it's just, it's wish fulfillment. It's everybody who has their favorite Star Wars wishing that it's somehow tied into that.
Well, I mean, I think it will tie in at some point, but just not in this film. I think the fact they brought Thrawn back and made him an actual canon character is proof that they will probably take a look at Mara Jade at some point. So,
I think to introduce Thrawn at this point would not make sense
No.
when you know that basically Kylo Ren will have been now the supreme leader of this
but
movement. Like,
it's
how would a guy like that fit in if he was in there?
Who would Richard E. Grant play, though? He's a great bad guy. He's always been
An Imperial guy on the Star Cruiser deck. One of those guys.
like the guy
what he
from
looks like.
the Last Jedi. That one, I don't remember his name, but the guy who was like 5 bloody minutes ago. Like that guy was awesome.
Yeah.
And it's a shame we only had him for like the 5 minutes he was in the movie. But is it going to be that kind of thing where he's just going to be in it for a few minutes?
Although might be maybe a larger role of that type, like a Grand Moff Tarkin kind of thing.
But that's kind of what
what Thrawn is.
no, it's what what's his name is. Hugs.
Well, they played him for laughs in the last
I
one.
know,
so
it's
he's-
hilarious.
So his power is
I didn't realize.
diminished.
Did you know that he says hugs like Poe Dameron says I'm on hold for
Right.
General Hugs?
Yeah.
That's an actual I didn't realize that when I first saw the movie, and then I was watching with
He's punking him.
He is.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I'm waiting, still on hold for General Hugs, and it's Hugs, not Hux.
Yeah.
So can he hear me? That was so funny.
We mispronounce things we hate.
Yes, that's
Yes,
right.
and that's what
or
he's
just,
doing there.
just want to
Yeah.
take a stab at him. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hope that we see some good moments from Richard E. Grant. He's a very good actor, and he's been excellent in almost everything I've ever seen him in. But who knows what's going to happen?
I'd say the best argument for Mara Jade is that Kerry Russell does look like that character. So that's the best argument.
Doesn't Mara Jade have like really red hair?
Well, but Kerry Russell it would be easy to make that happen.
Yeah,
Let me
but
put
come
it
on,
that way.
like I don't. It's a stretch. I don't think so.
Would it be a stretch to think that a woman of Kerry Russell's age would have been married to Luke Skywalker?
Yes, that's a stretch. He's like 20 years older than her.
I don't know. I think it could. It's possible.
In
but I
Hollywood
think
it's possible
thin.
because that happens quite often.
Right. But I think it's a thin possibility.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I would give it 1% chance. But I do think there's a chance. I just don't think it's a very big chance. I also do think that Episode 9 has got to And with a battle, of course, a massive battle, I think it has to involve, we need to see maybe some Force ghosts in the battle, observing or participating in said battle.
Well, now that we know they can have an effect on the real world,
Yeah.
I think that's a given. That, and of course, see, it is. In my mind, it is a bit of a spoiler. They said that Mark Hamill was going to be back because we all kind of figured that he would be, but it still would have been nice to have that be a surprise. You know what I mean? Like that still would have been. And same with Billy D. Williams. That would have been a great surprise. It would have been equivalent to the Yoda surprise in The Last Jedi, but they've already announced it and they've kind of ruined the surprise that he's going to be in it.
Well, if Billy D is going to show up, this is the last chance, pretty much, I would say. So I'm glad they confirmed it. But I almost think of it as, okay, in the last movie, they put the beacon out and they said nobody responded to the beacon. Well, but just maybe it took everybody time to respond to it. There could be other people floating, like Samuel L. Jackson could be floating around. Mace Windu could be floating around. Like there's any manner of person from the prequels and from the sequels to the prequels who could show up to help in whatever ends up being the big battle. And that includes Lando. Lando doesn't need a giant role. He can just show up at the end of Nien Nunb. Have his hey Nien, we flew the Falcon. Let's do it again. You know, like it doesn't need to be massive. That would make everybody.
Actually, that would be very cool if they did that. But I'm also thinking that somehow they have to work what's her face into it. Lupita Nyong'o's character.
Maz
Kanata. So we
after her barely cameo.
Well, exactly. Like she has one thing where she's flying around in a jetpack. She steers them in the direction of Justin Theroux, who they don't bother getting. They get DJ instead.
Very weird plot. That's one of the things that still stands out in that movie to me is what, huh? Like why did it need to play out in that way?
Why didn't they get the guy they were sent there to get in the first place?
Yeah.
So I mean, they have to work her in, and she would be the one I think tied to Lando somehow. She knows Han very well. She would probably know Lando very well. So I suspect that that's going to come together in a way that we're going to see Maz and Lando in the same scene together. But yeah, I kind of wish they'd saved it to be a surprise. Like the Frank Oz thing was still a surprise. We suspected it, but it was still nice to see Yoda show up when he did in The Last Jedi. So they've not. I don't know if there's still going to be surprises. I wonder what they could be now. What is left for them to surprise us with?
Luke's. I'm glad that they confirmed Mark Hamill because that just would have been painful. The secrecy, the people angry about what happened to his character. Now everybody can calm down for a year and a half before the movie comes out and just be like, okay, maybe he's a Force ghost. Maybe he's the all-time most powerful Force user who can teleport from location to location now. Maybe that didn't kill him. Maybe it didn't.
Oh, I think it did. I think they've kind of confirmed that, haven't they, that he died?
Yeah, well, in the added features of Last Jedi, Rian Johnson's like, this is your death scene, or something, but I don't think they've ever said. Nobody's confirmed where he went or what he's done. And I think even Mark Hamill's engaged in some of that fun on Twitter.
Well,
maybe he's teleporting from place to place. Right?
And the good thing about this announcement is that he is able to tweet about it and be open about his participation because he did tweet the other day that it was kind of bittersweet to be starting the first day shooting day on the final film of his Star Wars career without Carrie Fisher. He mentioned that. He said that, it's great to be here, but it's for the first time ever, I'm starring in a Star Wars film without Carrie Fisher, and that's tragic. And so, yeah, they are going to be reusing old footage of Carrie Fisher from, I guess, just The Force Awakens. Nothing from The Last Jedi, hey?
NBC screwed it up. Lester Holt screwed it up. He said, from episode 8, The Force Awakens, or something. And I was like, oh, here we go. Whenever the mainstream media gets hold of a Star Wars tidbit, it always goes awry.
Right.
I'm sure, and I assume Harry Potter, too. If I knew more about Harry Potter, I'd probably get mad every time they reported on that as well.
Well, and so I wonder that, and that's something that we suspected would happen, but I think that it's probably the best option for them at this point to do what they're doing.
We had that whole podcast where we had that discussion, and we sort of said, like, there's got to be lots of footage.
Yes.
And
I think
so
we came to that conclusion as well. But it's interesting they're just going to use footage from, is it just because JJ directed that one so they can say that JJ directed the entire film? Like, they don't want to take any of Rian Johnson's footage from that?
Maybe the outtakes from that were more usable, because don't forget, in the last one, she was out of the action for long stretches of time.
Yeah, she had more dialogue and more scenes. Although she did have quite a bit of scenes with Harrison Ford as well. So
also in Force Awakens, we know that there was a scene cut out of the movie because it was in the trailer of Maz Kanata handing
lightsaber.
The lightsaber to Leia.
Yeah.
That is an easy. You could put it in and make it make sense within.
Well, the lightsaber was destroyed though in the Last Jedi.
Was it?
Yes, it was. It was pulled apart.
Yeah, but you could put any lightsaber you want.
You could digitally insert something else.
You
into
could put you could say, here's the sandwich you wanted me to get for you if you wanted. But I do think there was probably a lot of stuff with Leia that's cut out of Force Awakens that probably would still in a base scenario on a base, which could be anywhere. So I don't know. I think there might.
The downside,
makes sense. Or it could just be a flashback.
Right, and the downside is that because they're forced to reuse footage, it is going to limit Carrie Fisher's role in some way. Like she's just going to be probably sitting at a console looking at things, which is what she usually does, sitting at a console looking over things. But yeah, again, it's the best solution they could come up with. They're not going to CGI her. They're not going to recast her. They have to use what they have, and they're not going to write her out in between movies either, which was another option we talked about, where they just announced in the crawl that she died. So this is the best case scenario.
You can still also, and odds are there have lots of footage with her not facing the camera, talking to someone else.
Right, and they can also dub in dialogue.
I
And
mean,
stuff,
that's so easily done these days.
Yeah,
as long as it doesn't call attention to itself, it's got to be pretty smooth. But I mean, you got impressionists out there who can do any voice.
Sure.
So it's certainly possible.
That's true.
So there might actually be some scenes that were not usable because of the way they were shot or something like that, where the dialogue still might be usable.
Right.
So there's all different stuff. What do you think at the end of episode 9, Leia, they will end Leia's story, that she will die?
I do think that. I think that was always the plan. I think that was always they were gonna. Han dies in episode 7, Luke dies in episode 8, Leia dies in episode 9. I think that was always gonna be the plan, and they stuck to it, even though they could have switched it around with Luke and Leia, but they chose not to. I don't know. I'm excited about this. I think that they're doing the best they can with what they have. I'm wondering about the villains and Kylo Ren. Will he be redeemed? Is he redeemable? Is this something that we're going to see like an echo of the first trilogy where where Darth Vader was redeemed and brought back at the very end? Or is Kylo Ren just gone and there's no chance? Because Rey certainly believed at some point that he was redeemable. And we did too.
It's too close to the original story.
Yeah,
if he just becomes redeemed in the same way. I just don't see it happening that way. Just because people go, we have a movie. Like, the big complaint that JJ had the first time was it's too much like original Star Wars. So the thing he won't want to do, I don't think anyway, is go as have everybody on Earth go, well, thanks, we already had Return of the Jedi. Like if Lando and Nien Nunb are together, like there's some stuff that we want to happen that's like Return of the Jedi because it's Lando's first chance to see Lando in some time. But there's some stuff we don't want, and that's the entire plot played out in the exact same way.
So no Ewoks or no equivalent of Ewoks or anything like that.
Well, there's always going to be creatures. Like if it's going to be a battle. There's no doubt. There's going to be some massive battle that decides the fate of the universe. That's what the Skywalker saga is all about.
What I like is that they're getting away from the 3 battles at once thing that George Lucas loved so much, and you saw it. I think you saw it for the first time in Jedi, where he had the Ewoks fighting the Stormtroopers, he had the space battle going on, and then he had Luke and Darth Vader fighting.
Yeah.
So those 3 things happening, and he did that exact same thing in like every prequel movie. And I'm glad they're getting away from that because it didn't happen in the other 2 movies. We had the space battle in the Force Awakens, and then just not really a battle, but just we did I guess have a bit of a lightsaber battle between Rey and Kylo Ren, But yeah, it was not the 3-pronged attack kind of thing that we've seen before. So I like that they're getting away from that. They're not feeling they have to stick to a formula. Yeah.
Well, plus it's hard to shoot and edit those. Like that's George Lucas's calling card is the 3 different stories happening at once, and we're cutting between them.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do. It's hard to make that work. That's why Jedi is incredible. Particularly that closing part of the chapter where you're just like, oh my God, like it's so well handled, and you're just on pins and needles, like when you're watching particularly Luke and Darth Vader, but the other stuff is great too.
Yeah, even the Ewok stuff, which a lot of people don't like, but I loved it.
I love it too.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff on Endor is good fun, like Rebel Scum happens there. Rebel Scum. And also I think I got it, and the door closes, like all of that stuff.
There's a newer, I haven't played Battlefront 2 in a while, but last time I played, there was a new add-on where you can play as an Ewok on Endor.
Oh, I saw that,
fighting
yeah.
against the Stormtroopers, and that's kind of fun. And maybe those will silence some of those critics from back in the day were saying the Ewoks could never have taken on the Empire. Well, this gives you a chance to. The advantage the Ewoks have in that level of the video game is that you can see in the dark, and the Stormtroopers you can't see. But I mean, the whole thing happens in the movie. The whole thing happens during the day, so that doesn't really.
Yeah, but also the point of the movie is nobody could think that would happen, but it did happen, and that's what makes it worth showing.
Yeah.
That's what drives me crazy when people go, "It would never happen." No, we're watching it because that's the story. The story is you'd never think it could happen, and it happened. The primitive Ewoks beat technology. Like that's part of what's going on. And Darth Vader, like he's more machine than man at this point. Like all of that, it all ties into that kind of story.
Yeah.
Right. So it bugs me when people say that would never happen.
That would never happen in real life.
A Gungan would never do that.
Wow,
and
that
it's like, well, you
not as well
that.
executed in that film, in my opinion. The whole Gungans versus the robots thing, but whatever.
No, that hasn't aged well. Although when we do our Last Jedi commentary, there's stuff in there that I think has aged very well and stuff that has not. There's certain, like we pointed out one on this podcast of where the storyline, the whole DJ and why do they need to be sent for Justin Theroux, but then it becomes DJ and what happened to Justin Theroux? Like, is that just for nothing? Like, or is he's not, Justin Theroux is not in the credits of the next movie, so I'm assuming neither is DJ. So it's like, what was all that about?
I don't know. I don't know. But I mean, it's a different director.
Yeah.
It's JJ. Do you wish that, in retrospect, would have been better just to give the whole trilogy to JJ?
Well, here we are at the end, and he's doing 2 of them. So probably, if Rian Johnson has another whole trilogy that he has to do, then it probably would have been fine to give JJ the whole trilogy. Although he probably wouldn't have agreed to it.
Well, not at the time. Yeah, he only wanted to do one.
Mm-hmm.
They had Colin Trevorrow as the third director, so they were going to do different directors for each film. But then that didn't work out, and they brought JJ back. And I think JJ will see it as a chance to kind of. I mean, not that he did a horrible job, but I think he has admitted there were mistakes that he made in that first film, like the whole Leia and Chewbacca walking past each other, not hugging, and that kind of stuff.
That's the worst.
That's the worst
part
of it.
Yeah.
But there are other things, and he's maybe this will be his chance to kind of see it as redeeming himself. I mean, it was the first Star Wars movie he'd ever done, and it can't be an easy task.
I just think in the special edition for Force Awakens, that's so easy to fix.
Oh my God!
Let's just
special. You're doing special edition.
Let's fix it.
20 years from now, 20 years from
now. Let's fix it. Let's fix it. It's streaming now.
I think they should just leave films, and maybe we can have a bigger discussion about special editions at some point. But I just watched Jaws. It's something that we were talking about last week on Media Nerds. Film that we both watch every summer. I got the Blu-ray from the library, and I was watching it. I'm also listening to the Inside Jaws podcast, as recommended by Chris Schiffman, and I'm kind of watching some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. And what I love about Jaws, and you can see it in the film. There are shots that do not match up.
Right.
There are shots of a real shark that it looks nothing like the fake shark that they used. But Spielberg has left it. He's not going back to it and fixing it. He could absolutely make that a CGI shark for the whole thing, and it would probably look better than it does.
Oh, I don't think it would.
Well,
not if the Aquaman trailer can be believed. If that's what it would look like, don't do it.
No, I think he could make it look much better, but he decided to leave it as it is. He probably doesn't want to go back to it because it was such a nightmare for him. But I think that there's something to be said for just leaving the film as is and not going back to it, which is what George Lucas always wanted to do, was go back and fix it.
Jaws is an exception in the sense that what makes that film work is you don't see the shark very much because the mechanical shark didn't work very well.
Right.
But also, it's so scary that half the time you're covering your eyes, and so you're not noticing things that don't line up or whatever. And it maintains its terror throughout the thing. So it's not like there's anything there that ruins the movie. Whereas you could make an argument that scene in Force Awakens kind of like, ugh. Like when I watch Force Awakens now, I'm dreading that scene.
What scene?
Where Chewie doesn't hug.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Where he just runs past her and you're like, what? You're like, she was married to the guy who just died.
His best friend.
His best pal.
Yeah.
Like when you really dig deep into the story, it's pretty big. It's a pretty big miss, I would say.
Yeah.
And you don't even need, or don't even, or take Chewbacca out of that scene. How about that?
Yeah, that's true. You can just
or take Leia out.
Oh no.
No. But I just think that's just, and JJ himself says it's a mistake. So
So he'll go back and fix it.
maybe he'll give us a flashback where they actually hug.
She hugs Ray and then goes back. Oh, wait, Chewie, come back here. Give me a hug. I missed you.
It might actually be the scene where you see Chewie sitting by himself being sad. That might actually be stronger if you don't see him leave the Falcon.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, you just see like, where's Chewie? Oh, he's sitting by himself mourning. Like that might be even more heart-wrenching.
What do you think of the actor who's been playing Chewbacca for the last couple films?
He got better in Solo.
Yeah.
Whereas I also think in Force Awakens the costume wasn't quite right.
I thought
something was a little different.
I just thought he should look older in the Force Awakens. Like he should be
Yeah.
a little bit gray. He looks exactly the same as far as I could tell.
He looks
and I realize
better,
that he's
though.
like 200 something years
Yeah.
old at this point. But at some point you should start getting a little bit aged, right? Like if Han Solo's really gray and wrinkled and old, Chewie should be starting to show something.
So, yeah, something just like the Peter Mayhew shot close-ups, I think, for Force Awakens.
Yes.
So there are some scenes where I think, that must be Peter Mayhew because that looks a little better there. But it was almost like there's something a little off about him in that one. And then the other ones, he seems quite a bit better.
Yeah, he's getting a hang of it. And but the reason I asked is because I'm noticing they do these things like, I don't remember which magazine it is, but they do this thing where celebrities read their most searched terms or something. That might be Wired, I think, or something. Anyway, it's a video series they do on YouTube, and they did one with the cast of Solo, and it was him. And so he is fully transitioned into that role. There's no more Peter Mayhew. I think Peter Mayhew is undergoing surgery or just underwent surgery or something because of his mobility issues. But yeah, I mean, he seems to be adapting pretty well to the role, and I'm sure he'll be pretty good in this film as well. Billie Lourd is getting a bigger role. She had a much bigger. Was she even in The Force Awakens? Someone said she was.
Yeah, she is.
I don't remember her at all.
She's at the Rebel base.
She just is a side character.
Yeah, you see. I don't know if she has any lines, but you see a close up of her. Her role has been expanding in each one, so it's probably going to expand again.
So this is, of course, Carrie Fisher's daughter. So she
probably have a bigger role in this one.
Yeah,
there's no rebels left at the end.
Well,
there's very few. Yeah,
like 20 of them left at the end. So that's the big question for this film.
Or resistance. Sorry, I keep calling them rebels. Yeah.
And hopefully they reveal the difference between those terms and why they're being called the Resistance and not the Rebellion in the animated series that is coming out whenever, the new Dave Filoni series. But yeah, she will have an updated role. And I guess the big question about this film is how are they going to come back? Like there has to be a big time jump between episodes 8 and 9 because they have to have time to build something up. They've got literally nothing. There's nothing left for them at the end. They're all on the Millennium Falcon. That's it. One ship full of literally a handful of rebels. Sorry, not literally, but you know what I mean. So how are they going to build themselves back up? How are they going to defeat the First Order? I don't know.
But also, one of the issues with having Force Awakens end with the Luke Skywalker moment is that there was Force Awakens.
Oh, Force Awakens with the lightsaber thing. Yeah.
One of the reasons why that has constricted this trilogy is because we needed to show us the next scene with what happens when she hands him the lightsaber. And so therefore there's no time between the two movies. So really the first and second movie just happened over the course of I don't know how many,
like a week
or something. Like it's quick.
Like that. It's very quick. Yeah.
It's pretty quick. And so I hope that that episode 9 gives us some room to breathe, gives us some time and space between where we left off. Because it'd be weird that maybe it wouldn't be weird, maybe it would be different. But the original trilogy takes place over I don't know
years.
How many? How old's Luke? In the first one, he's like 19 or 20.
Yeah.
And then in the third one, how old would he be?
We talked about this a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's a couple years overall. The biggest time jump is between New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. There's a couple years there, and there's like 6 months or something like that between A New Empire and Return of the Jedi. But let's talk about like you're right, the transition between films. When you think about it, okay, so I'm trying to think of where the Resistance was. They were at their base. They launched from their base. I don't know where that base is. The one where they launched their attack on the Starkiller base.
Takodana? Was that what they
Taco
called
Bell?
it? Taco Bell? Did I mix up?
I don't know.
I think that's what it was called.
Anyway, they're at that base, right? And
Yeah.
they've got lots of people, lots of fighters, and
Forgive me if I'm mixing up my planets. But
right.
I think.
But here's the thing, okay, and you're right. There is literally no time between those two movies. So they're at this base. They've got seemingly a lot of people and a lot of fighters and a lot of equipment. And then the next film, they're evacuating from a different base. I assume that's a different base. I think they said it was. And they're busy like, okay, here we're evacuating and getting on the ships and getting away, and they get everybody away. And then over the course of the long chase in that film, all their other ships eventually get destroyed. So I'm just wondering, like, where's all the other stuff they had at that other base? Like, why is this it? Don't they have other bases anywhere else? You know what I mean? Like, I just wonder what happened to all that stuff.
Maybe it's back to Yavin. Maybe it's back. It could be.
Well, I think that's a well-known base, though. They wouldn't go back where the First Order could find them easily.
Well, how would they do that? They'd find some way to do it, but probably not. But at this, no, I shouldn't say that. It could happen. It could happen. But part of what is already out there with the side movies includes Yavin, thanks to Rogue One. We've got Yavin on the mind, and also Darth Vader Castle on the mind.
Right.
And there's a few places like I don't think
that'd be cool to go revisit those places, especially the Darth Vader Castle, because we didn't get to see a lot of that in Rogue One.
And it would be fitting that Kylo Ren. I thought that in the last movie he might find his way to that castle to see where
maybe he'll make that his base of operations. Now that he's Supreme Leader, he can kind of call his own shots, and he'll like hang out in the castle where his grandpa.
Castle
where his grandpa built.
Like there's some opportunities there, so I wouldn't rule those out. But I don't think we're gonna get our wish that it will tie together. It's impossible. Like to tie together the prequels, the sequels, the Clone Wars, the side movies. Like that's probably not possible.
Well, I think
to balance.
All they need to do to tie in some of the prequels is have some kind of technology, remnant technology from that era, like a one of those droids or something, or anyway, something like that. That comes up in
Ghosts, Qui-Gon and Anakin.
Yeah, but they could just have like they've done it. They did it in the books, right? They did it in Aftermath, where they have Mr. Bones, which is an old battle droid from old Trade Federation battle droid. They also even refer to the buzz saws or something. I don't remember some sort of droids in their Clone Wars era droids. Thrawn collects them in the Thrawn novel. He collects these droids and fixes them up and uses them in battle. So so there's a kind of a reference to that stuff in that novel. So they're doing a lot of kind of Clone War era references in the novels, but there's not been anything in the films yet. So I think all they have to do is reference something quickly, and then that's all they need to do to tie that in. Yeah, I think that all it needs to do is have be a satisfying ending to this trilogy, and to me that means finding out what happens to Rey, to Kylo Ren, and maybe I don't think we care about Poe that much. I think we just he continues to be a fighter. Do you think now? Hey, here's a question: do you think there's a romantic interest between Poe and Rey? Because there seem to be hinting at that.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
It would just be so out of the blue.
Well, that was technically the first time he'd ever met her in person at the end of The Last Jedi.
Nah.
Seemed to be some kind of thing going on there.
No? I don't think so.
No?
I'd say you have a better chance at Poe and Finn.
The bromance between Poe and Finn is strong. But Finn is already kind of, I guess, involved with Rose, and that was kind of a neat little twist at the end of it.
And we know, well, I thought Finn was ready to.
Oh yeah, no, I was totally convinced he was gonna sacrifice himself.
And I wouldn't necessarily think that would be a bad ending for that character. I thought it might be fitting, actually, when you look at sort of what his arc had been.
Yeah.
But then, so it was the classic last second save from the jaws of death. But I don't know. I guess there was at the very end a hint of romance between him and Rose. I think.
Oh yes, no, I think that's
more than a hint.
Yes, more than a hint. She kisses him. She says she loves him in not so many words, but pretty much saying we're gonna save what we love. So, and he's like, what? Like, obviously, it was like it's a total bombshell to him. He has no.
Well,
no idea.
It's hard to know how much of that was. Wow, we're in shell shocked because you just saved my life, or how much of that was.
I don't know. I think they're setting it up for like they're gonna be like the couple of the year after they call them foes or Rin. A couple names. No, I think that's gonna be the big love thing. And it's funny because this trilogy doesn't have a lot of that. The big one, of course, in the original trilogy was Han and Leia. That was the one that didn't start until the second film. This one doesn't start till the second film, so we'll see something happen between Finn and Rose in the third film.
Maybe not. I don't know. It depends how much. Like when you actually think about everything, like a lot of stuff got wrapped up in Last Jedi.
Maybe not
As everybody-
to JJ's satisfaction. JJ probably
Right.
would have liked to have some of that stuff still. I'm sure JJ was upset about the Snoke dying thing. I think he wanted that to go through the whole
in the
trilogy.
same way that Ryan Johnson, as I said, he edited JJ's film for him in the sense that we
Right.
got rid of a bunch of extra characters, like that. They set up the pieces, and it was like, don't need this one, don't need that one, don't need, and we lost a bunch of them, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But if you then get the last say after somebody has sort of taken the pieces you set up and dispensed with some of them, maybe that's what makes me think maybe he can't bring back, like JJ can't redact everything. He can redact something. And I think if he redacts anything, it'll be Luke.
You think he's going to bring Luke back from the dead?
If anything, I'd say that.
No one's really ever gone.
Right. I don't think Snoke. I don't think Phasma.
So Luke comes in. I think we maybe see Luke as a Force ghost, but he's able to kind of interact with the real world like a normal person and hangs around for a lot longer. The thing is, as are Force ghosts only visible to those who are sensitive with the Force? Like Rey would be able to see him, but Poe and Finn wouldn't.
Well, we don't know.
That would be like kind of the way.
Have we ever had
goes.
an instance where somebody who
I think in the original trilogy it was only ever Luke that saw them, right? Nobody else saw them.
Yeah.
Oh, Leia did. Maybe Leia did at the end. Or no, she didn't.
No.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I think that it'll be
Or
interesting.
they make themselves seen as they want to be seen. Maybe, I don't know. But even on Hoth, where Ben shows up, and then you see the Tauntaun basically rides,
right?
Like he vanishes, and the Tauntaun comes riding almost like through him, and Han doesn't go like, "Holy shit! Did you see that astral projection of Obi-Wan Kenobi?"
No, he has no idea.
No.
Okay.
So, but I can't remember how close that. It's pretty close, I think.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, he would have seen it.
He would have seen him.
Yeah, okay.
For sure.
I think we settled that one.
Okay, there we go.
But I do hope that we do get like the ghosts are an easy way to tie a film together, and especially the prequels. And I think we're ready for what's his name, Hayden Christensen.
I think
we're ready for his triumphant return.
You think so?
I think so.
Okay, interesting.
I think it'd be kind of fun to have him in there. So I guess we'll see. But there's a bunch of stuff. Like this is like the cast they've announced isn't the entire cast.
No, that's the thing. They have to be leaving something as a surprise.
Yeah.
They have to.
Even Yoda, even Frank Oz isn't listed in the.
Well, and the thing, if he was in the film, they would have announced him because that surprise is done.
Right.
So maybe Yoda isn't in this one.
Or they don't want us to start speculating about Force ghosts other than Luke.
What if Anakin shows up as a Force ghost to Kylo Ren?
Could happen.
Oh, there's something that could happen because we've never seen it happen on the dark side, but we presume.
Oh, yeah.
True. Anybody sensitive to the Force can see these things. I presume that.
Maybe even Snoke could do that.
Snoke could do that as well. Yeah, there you go. Fuel for thought.
There's lots of interesting stuff we don't know about Force ghosts, but the problem with that is you can ruin, like as George Lucas pointed out himself, you can ruin the Force very easily.
Well, I think
by explaining too much or not enough.
I think they're going to go like someone needs to go back and do a lot of research in the extended universe about Force ghosts and what was revealed there, because likely is it's likely they'll reuse something from that to help explain this, because they're not really making up anything new. They didn't, and even though people got upset about the whole Luke projecting himself thing and all that other stuff that they established, that was stuff that was already out there in other forms through the extended universe. So, and Pablo said they are pulling. He said the extended universe is like a first draft of this stuff, and they're pulling what they want from the extended universe. So that whatever is happening with the Force ghosts will have a precedent.
And also, generally, what's good in the expanded universe would be what they.
Yeah, exactly. They pick what they like and pick what the good parts of it. So
I don't think it's necessarily fan service, but there's a reason why certain things have lots of fans from the expanded universe, and that's because it was good.
Yeah, Mara Jade, Thrawn, these are great characters,
but not Prince Zizor, and not Dash Rendar.
Well, and also not all the kids that they had. By the end of it, like I stopped reading those books when they got into the next generation of
too many
Jaden and Jason and Anakin Solo and all that other stuff. Like,
oh no, that was Timothy Zahn though, wasn't it?
It wasn't always Timothy Zahn. It was other.
See, the Timothy Zahn stuff. I thought they did make an appearance in Timothy Zahn.
I didn't read his later stuff, but there was a bunch of Kevin J. Anderson wrote some books.
It's a blur to me because I read those books so long ago. But I thought that they are.
There was a series that kind of focused on the kids, Han and on Leia's kids, and I think actually it's more plausible that they would name their kid Anakin than name him Ben. Like we talked about that a long time ago. Why would you name your son after somebody you didn't really know? Neither of them knew Obi-Wan Kenobi. Leia knew of him, but didn't really know him.
They just like the name
Ben. That's it. They didn't Ben. So
but they probably thought that would make him go toward the good side.
Well, Anakin came back from the evil side though.
But he fell as Anakin, so that's why. Oh no, actually no. Well, yeah, it was dubbed Darth Vader before he wore the costume, which always bugged me.
Yes, that's right.
I always thought he should have dubbed him Sir Darth Vader when he got up off the table.
The new Thrawn novel, which is already out, it just came out in paperback in hardcover. It chronicles like the days leading up to, I assume leading up to like Rogue One-ish, that era. And in this novel, Thrawn works really closely with Darth Vader. So the show, like the cover of it shows Thrawn in his Imperial uniform and Vader in his costume. Then on the other side, it shows Thrawn in a different, like just civilian clothing, and Anakin Skywalker as the Jedi. So I think that we're going to flash back to when they worked together as in the Clone Wars. And I don't know if you have to think that Thrawn's going to figure out who he is, because they're like, even the Empire, they say Anakin Skywalker died. Nobody knows that he is Darth Vader. That's something that they're just kind of, they're not letting anybody know that it's the same person.
Well, who knows? Well, I guess it depends who Obi-Wan told.
Would Obi-Wan know? Obi-Wan might not have even known that.
How would Obi-Wan tells Luke the story?
He says that Darth Vader killed your father.
Betrayed and murdered, but then in Empire he said, well, he did in a certain way.
Right.
So he did know.
Yeah, it's weird. It's never clear who, because he dies.
Well,
no. I think that I don't know. That's an interesting
because he is already Darth Vader when he fights Obi-Wan Kenobi on Mustafar.
Yes, that's right.
He's already fallen. He killed the younglings.
But I think Obi-Wan leaves him for dead there. I don't think Obi-Wan thinks he's going to survive.
Oh, and suddenly there's this guy shows up.
Calling himself Darth Vader. Wow. He would put two and two together, I think.
But is he ever...
This is fun.
Does he call him Darth Vader sarcastically on
Only a master
Mustafar?
of evil, Darth. He calls him Darth. That's his first name.
But on Mustafar, does he say,
or
should I
Anakin.
call you... Doesn't he give him one of those? He doesn't say, should I call you blah, blah, blah? Or should I call you Darth Vader? Or should I call you Vader? I don't know if he does.
Interesting.
Shit, I don't remember. Boy, this is terrible. We always reveal the gaps in what we remember.
We've gone off the rails here in this discussion. I don't know what else we can add to it. I mean,
but no,
really,
but it ties into what you were talking about with the book. Yeah,
I know. Anyway, anything else about the casting that you think would be interesting to discuss?
It's kind of sad. It's a final Skywalker saga film.
Yeah, I'm okay
the
with
end
it.
of an era.
I think it's
part of me. Part of me thought that's where I'll stop collecting the figures at the end of 9. Because how many can you?
I think you made your decision to stop collecting figures when you didn't buy that Phasma figure. I think that's the beginning of the end.
No,
for you.
to collect rip-off figures. I've already not done that. Like the Stormtrooper's been released 15 times. I'm sorry, I bought one.
But you'll buy new. So the new characters. So do you have a Rose? Is there a Rose character?
Yeah, I have that.
So
and DJ got a DJ.
So whatever Kerry Russell plays, you'll get that figure.
Maybe.
And all the new people.
Maybe. We'll see.
Okay.
I don't know. Let me see it.
Let's see it first. Anyway, we're of course, obviously we'll talk about this more as the months go on, but for now it's still exciting to be a Star Wars fan, and still lots of fun to be had talking about this stuff. So.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Love it.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Star Wars Nerds. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the Force hit you in the ass.
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
TK421, do you copy?
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
Taking an awful risk, Vader.